Hey everyone, thank you for listening to Communicate 101 Speaking Writing Tips, your podcast channel for effective communication skills. And I'm your host, Sarika Singh. On this podcast, I talk to you about becoming an effective communicator in life, be it branding, communications, how to pitch to clients, creative writing skills, how to speak, when to speak, tips to avoid and handle those goof-ups, how to break the ice and start conversations, and everything around this topic that walks through my mind. This episode begins.
Tarun got a promotion that Devika didn't. And Tarun, he let this frustration boil over in a chat with his colleague Devika. Devika just snagged a promotion that Tarun was gunning for, and instead of congratulations, he lashed out a sharp accusation at Devika. He said, "You got this job, you got this promotion only by cozying up to the boss." Both Tarun and Devika were your colleagues. Not cool, Tarun. This outburst really crossed the line of professional behavior, and you're royally annoyed. You really want to speak to Tarun about it and set him right. How would you normally deal with this? Would you say something like, "Tarun, I don't like the way you were speaking to Devika. Stop, that's not the way you talk to anyone. Poor girl was so embarrassed. Go apologize to her." Do you think this is the best way to communicate with the already antagonized Tarun? Because when you say something like this, do you think he'll really go and apologize to Devika? Because if you speak like this, Tarun will, if nothing else, he'll definitely get defensive. And you will end up having an argument with Tarun instead of settling the argument between Tarun and Devika. Nothing productive is going to come out. Let's try to rework on this conversation. Here's what you could say instead. "Hi Tarun, do you have a second to talk? I wanted to talk about what happened with Devika. I know and I genuinely appreciate how hard you've been working to meet your sales targets. I'm sure this hasn't got unnoticed. But I know you snapped at Devika because it's not right. She's learning the ropes from you, Tarun. She is a fresher. You were in fact motivating her to meet those targets. But maybe in the future, you could approach Devika with more empathy. She's also under immense pressure. She also has to close her sales so that the whole team can meet targets. Tarun, she really looks up to you. She respects you for your skill and hard work. And she must be so embarrassed after how you spoke to her. Here's one person she looks up to, and look what he thinks of her. Do you think you want to apologize to her and make it good?" If you say something like this, maybe you make Tarun feel valued. You can empathize with Tarun's situation and show him how to empathize with Devika's situation. Plus, you're asking him to apologize, an end resolution, which is a request. And this will prime a response on his part. It was a difficult conversation, but you handled it well. Last week, we verified that tough conversations are not all about you. I also shared 3 tricks from my personal toolkit to master difficult conversations in all scenarios. You could use that toolkit in both personal and professional scenarios, and I hope and trust you've tried these tools from my toolkit to handle any tough convo that came your way. This week, we are diving into a tricky world of tough talks at work, school, or in your business, and I'm bringing you the real deal with stories and examples that hit close to home. Make sure nothing, absolutely nothing slows your roll, and get ready to light up your workplace like the star you truly are. When you think you're stepping into difficult conversations for your team's sake, think again. It's really about you. If you dodge those talks or you fumble through them without confidence, guess what? Issues don't get resolved, or at least not how you'd hope them to resolve. This can really throw a wrench in your performance. So it's about you. It's not about others. See the difference? Mastering tough chats isn't just a skill, it's a game changer. It elevates your coaching, amps up your personal collaboration, and even boosts your personal relationships. You'll move from skirting around problems to navigating challenges like a pro, tackling stuff others won't touch with a 10-foot pole. Let's kick off today, hone those skills, sharpen your communication to foster your team's performance. Let's make waves, dive in, and watch how it transforms your world. Remember, it's all about you, and this communication is your communication. Claire is a sales manager, and she's noticed that one of her team members, David, has been missing deadlines and making more mistakes than usual. He seems generally disengaged. She needs to sit down with David and discuss these issues, but Claire knows David is a difficult guy. He's also about 15 years elder to her in age and otherwise in the length of work, and telling him about his mistakes and expecting him to open to change is going to be a very difficult conversation. Claire is going to need an approach, a very strategic approach in this tough conversation, because there is not only sensitivity but also requirement for clarity, objective examples to discuss the impact of David's performance with the whole team, exploring different issues that he may be facing. So the goal is to find a constructive path forward. The goal is to offer support and resources for improvement, but also making it clear that his current performance is below the expected level. So this difficult conversation requires a delicate balance between empathy and firmness, aiming to motivate David without demoralizing him. Claire has written to me from Liverpool asking me for help in this difficult conversation. While you think how to help me help Claire handle this difficult conversation, I want you to share your suggestions with me on info@sarikasingh.in. I'll definitely use the good ones in my reply to Claire. Challenges are like those pesky weeds in your garden. They keep propping up no matter what. But the real kicker? Discussing them? Ouch! It feels like you're trying to play piano with the boxing gloves on. It leaves us so anxious, so unsure, so frustrated, and downright mad. But is it easy? Of course it is easy. Today I'll touch upon 3 examples, 3 situations of common, challenging conversations that might occur in workplace setting, each presenting unique difficulties and requiring careful handling. So the first kid on the block is discussing a layoff. Okay, so Jatin is a departmental manager. He needs to inform a long-time employee, Harleen, that due to budget cuts, not because of Harleen's mistakes or something she's goofed up with, because of budget cuts, his position is being eliminated. Harleen is well liked, a great worker, and has been with the company for over a decade. Now, this is going to be a very difficult conversation for Jatin. Let's understand the challenge. So Harleen is a great worker. Everyone likes him. He's an old employee. And Jatin knows Harleen's family will be in a fix if he loses a job. So there's an emotional angle also involved. Jatin himself, he likes and appreciates Harleen. So delivering the sad news in a way that respects Harleen's contribution with dignity while addressing the practicalities of the situations is difficult. Very, very difficult. Jatin wanted to kick the can down the road. He tried to push this for as long as he could. I really like this person, he told himself. We're such a small company and so close. We know about each other's families, about our vacations, kids' birthdays. We're all so close. Jatin didn't like asking Harleen to go. Everybody plays a position on the team, and one weak link can bring it down. That's what Jatin felt. But he realized he was going to have to be the bad guy. He was going to have to ask Harleen off. It was time to bell the cat. It was time for that difficult convo. So how should Jatin approach? Go to Harleen's cubicle and talk about it? Of course not. Setting of a conversation really matters. This is a private matter, so must be discussed in privacy. So first thing, Jatin must immediately schedule a private meeting with Harleen in the company's meeting room, while also letting Harleen know that it's going to be a longish meeting so that, just Harleen also knows there's enough time for a thorough discussion. Now, Jatin can start by expressing Harleen's appreciation for years of dedication. When Jatin finally needs to talk about the layoff, he must clearly explain the company's financial reasons behind this decision, emphasizing that it's got nothing to do with Harleen's performance, it is not a reflection of that. And while doing all of this, he has to help Harleen absorb the shock well. Jatin also needs to provide information on severance packages, outplacement services, and he should also reaffirm that he's happy to provide reference, a great, well-deserved reference. All throughout, the tone that Jatin needs to offer, that Jatin must offer, must remain compassionate, but also straightforward, allowing Harleen to express emotions and ask questions. And believe you me, this kind of conversation is best to be had while having a cup of tea. And Jatin did exactly what was required. He followed the 3 principles. The first one, he was sure of the setting and started with a positive note. This made Harleen lower her guard. As a second principle, when explaining the issue, he stayed firm. He shared concrete examples of the company policy or what the scene was. As a third and last principle, Jatin offered alternate routes, resources, and everything else he could do to support Harleen. So always start and end on a positive note, because difficult conversations will have to be made simpler. While it's not a great news to share, the conversation can be made less difficult for both parties. Have you as a manager laid off an employee? Or have you ever been let go for any reason? How did you handle it? Or how did your manager handle it? This difficult conversation? Did you part on a bad note? Share with me on my Insta handle. It's called communication_coaching, or write to me at info@sarikasingh.in. The second situation that we'll discuss today is rather commonplace. We all experience it sometime or the other. Yes, I'm talking about inappropriate behavior. It could be from your boss, your colleague. Maybe you're doing something inappropriate. Maybe you're facing some kind of awkward pressure or exploitation at workplace. Of course, you go to the HR. Maybe there is no HR. Or even if talking to the HR is a difficult conversation, how do you go and speak to the HR? So Aisha, a team leader, has received several complaints that a team member, Raghav, is frequently making inappropriate jokes. He's crossing the boundaries of professionalism. And especially, that's making it awkward and uncomfortable for her female colleagues. Aisha is the team leader, so she's expected to resolve this in the interest of her team. But she knows it's going to be a challenging conversation because confronting Raghav's behavior without creating ruckus, without creating further tension, without creating discomfort, and bringing in positive team environment is not going to be easy. If it looks like a complaint, Raghav will only try to think, who is it that raised my complaint? And a vengeance battle will ensue. Aisha doesn't want that because Raghav is a great worker, he's an asset professionally, and so is everyone else in the team. So she has to make it right. She has to make it a win-win for all. Aisha realizes, like Jatin, that when he arranged from a private meeting with Harleen, remember? That setting of a conversation really matters. And like the previous one, this is a private matter, must be discussed in privacy. Immediately, Aisha arranges for a one-on-one meeting with Raghav in a confidential setting to discuss the matter. How does she start? Positively. She starts by affirming Raghav's value to the team. And slowly, very smoothly, she transitions into discussing the specific behaviors that have been problematic. Aisha uses specific examples, concrete examples, to showcase how these actions affect team morale and how they violate company policy. There are moments when sometimes Raghav interrupts Aisha, but she stays firm. She's the team leader, remember? She's unrelenting. So Raghav is forced to listen to Aisha's side. After she's done her talking, Aisha will not stop at encouraging Raghav. Now it's his turn to reflect on how his behavior might be perceived by others. She discusses mandatory requirements for a professional workspace, and also she outlines potential consequences if this behavior continues. She also offers guidance. She also tells him what is appropriate conduct, what is done, what is not done. So you see, like Jatin, Aisha followed the 3 principles. Firstly, she ensured that the setting was private and she started with a positive note. Secondly, when she was explaining the issue, she stayed firm and she shared concrete examples. And lastly, she offered support to change and she outlined the outcome otherwise. So always start and end on a positive note. Difficult conversations will become much simpler. Last Thursday, my close friend Dennis lost his job. He'd gone to meet his manager for a promotion because his targets were met. He was a star performer. In fact, he had outperformed. But whoa, he ended up losing his job. How? Why? Because it was a negotiation deal gone bad. Why? Because he was more commanding and demanding in the conversation. A conversation which needed humility, which needed professionalism and evidence support. Instead, he was the kind that would say, it's my way or highway. The difficult conversation hit a dead end, there was nowhere to go, and ultimately, Dennis had to quit. Ironically and incidentally, the same day, his wife Jessica, an ambitious architect at a city project management office, she had her performance review. She was not only made permanent from a temporary position, but she also got a promotion. So two professionals from the same family, in fact partners, one seasoned and one raw, fresher. The fresher got a raise, the seasoned lost his job. Jessica was advocating for herself humbly. She remained open to feedback. She came prepared with a list of her accomplishments. She had logged her achievements from day one, and she knew how to showcase her skills, her accomplishments. She had exceeded her targets and she could demonstrate that. She also showed how she brought value to the team. Presenting her case calmly, professionally, and humbly, she got the promotion. Her review team was impressed. Despite the budget constraints, they gave her a bonus. But they did give her specific goals to achieve so that, she could plan for a future promotion. Dennis, on the contrary, had 15 years of experience. He demanded a raise or else the competitor was ready to hire him. That's what he said. He did not talk about his achievements. He assumed his manager should know. I've been good. She should know that. The manager was only seeing Dennis's attitude, the arrogance, the give it or else kind of attitude. The manager let him go. End of story. Each of these scenarios involves navigating emotional undercurrents and requires a blend of tact, empathy, and clarity to effectively maneuver the difficult conversation. Perhaps your boss lashed out at you during a heated discussion, or your direct report started to cry when you gave that performance review. Maybe your client hung up on the phone on you. This is a difficult conversation. Instigating a difficult conversation can feel daunting, and there is a natural tendency for managers to delay action in the hope that, things will resolve on their own. But this is rarely the case. As a result, we tend to avoid them, but that's not the answer. Procrastination will not make problems disappear. You have to nip them in the bud. So those awkward, tense, challenging conversations have to be dealt effectively. The trick is mastering how to deal with the conversation, that tough convo, so both you and the other person come out with less bruises. Less pain for you, less pain for them. It's all about a smoother outcome. If you keep calling it a difficult conversation, you're just setting yourself up to be nervous, to be upset before it even starts. How about we don't go down that road? Think of it as a chat. Just have a little chat. Before you drop a tough bomb in the chat, especially if that bomb is going to pinch, ask yourself, what can I offer in return? So if you're about to let someone go, why not soften the blow with something like, I've drafted a glowing recommendation for you. You want to take a look? Or if you're telling your boss you can't tackle the task, don't just leave it at that. Pitch a solid plan B. It's about making the hard stuff a little bit easier to handle. I hope the examples I shared and the solutions I shared alongside work as lifeboats and help you navigate the crocodile-infested waters of tough conversations. Just remember, always start and end on a positive note. Difficult conversations will remain not so difficult anymore.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Communicate 101 Speaking Writing Tips with Sarika Singh. If you want to be notified of upcoming episodes, be sure to hit the subscribe button and follow the podcast. I'll be back to share more stories, more life experiences, and more communication tips every Friday. If you want to reach me or connect with me, just put your comments in the comment box below or mail me at info@sarikasingh.in. I know you're going to rate and review this podcast, so a big thank you in advance. Stay tuned and think about what we talked today.